Hello, welcome back to My Messy Fingers. I am going to put together an album that is going to measure 8.5 by 11 by 1 7/8 on the spine. It will hold 2 pages plus the front and the back once we get done with this. I actually connect these pieces using a Tyvek envelope. They're going to be about a 1/4 inch gusset. A Tyvek envelope that has a great deal of resiliency. It is almost tear-proof, and it's going to go on, pretend this is the outside. It's going to go on the outside of the album build so that when this flexes and it moves, these edges here are moving on the Tyvek. And then your cardstock is actually going to go over the Tyvek. So it's not the element, the piece of paper that's getting roughed up by the edge of the chipboard. It will actually be protected because of the Tyvek. What we need to do with the Tyvek pieces is we need to score these. They're 2.5 across, 2 inches across by 8.5 inches. So I want to score these at 1 inch, both of them. That's a seam in the envelope. Okay. Do this one, get over that seam. All right, so these are both scored at 1 inch. I'm going to fold these against the score, and I'm going to burnish them because I want to encourage that seam to stay there. Okay, I'm going to do it here and here. Okay, all right. Now I want, oh, you know what? I did that wrong. I apologize. I did that wrong. I don't know why I was thinking of doing it in half. I apologize. You need to score these at 7/8. Goofy me, 7/8 of an inch, and at 1 1/8 inch. So I'm going to have a seam in the middle. It's no big deal. Okay, so to repeat that, you're actually going to score at 7/8 of an inch. And then at 1 1/8. And now I'm going to fold against those score lines. Burnish. And then I turn it over, and then I'm going to fold along that score line, and then I'm going to burnish. And I'm going to repeat the process for this piece. Turn this over, fold it over on that score line. Now I'll show you why. I almost sent you down the wrong road here. Apologize. All right, so when we put these all together, as so. You've created on that score line a 1/4 inch gusset. And this piece is going to ride right on that 1/4 inch gusset on both sides. And then you're going to put this one on the corresponding 1/4 inch gusset. And we're going to tape these in place. I know this sounds like this is a big gusset to have, but you're going to see as we build this album, this is going to work. You're going to have some stuff you're going to be putting in here, and you don't want this so tight that you can't get the build in there and then have it turn comfortably, Tyvek or no Tyvek. All right, so first thing we're going to do, and I gotta get my little pink finger thing. This tape is just horrid on my skin. All right, I'm gonna run tape right along that score mark. And then I'm going to run it along the 1/4 inch score mark on the corresponding side. And I'm going to give it a good burnish. And then I'm going to repeat the process on the other one. Come right up to the score line. And then I'm going to come up next to the 1/4 inch score line again. I want a 1/4 inch gusset to form down the side of this. Now I have a little bit here. When I get ready to mount it, I'm going to run a bead of glue on here. Oh, you know, I wonder if I can get, I hate changing in midstream, but I'm wondering if I can't get 1/4 inch tape down that, pretty close to it. I really want this to be on the chipboard pretty firmly. Don't want a weakened spot. So yeah, that worked. And let's go ahead and run that on this side. Whatever width of tape you use, don't think that you can use glue to adhere this. It isn't going to work. You're going to need to use tape and make sure that you've got it well covered. The glue does not adhere to the Tyvek readily, and it will shift, and I will question its hold because of what the material the Tyvek is made out of. All right, so let's start with this piece. We are going to remove, if I can find my pick tool, there we go. We are going to remove one side of this. And then I am going to very carefully come right up to where that tape is and lay this down. Now my Tyvek is not a true 8.5, it's just a bit shy, so I'm not worried about it because I'm aware of it. But All right, now we're going to take one of the panels and then we're going to connect it. Come on. Now, I want that 1/4 inch gusset, but I'm also going to watch, make sure that I'm matching up down here. And right on the mark. All right, so now this is going to overlap because the spine piece is pretty small. It's not a big, wide 2.5 inch spine. I'm going to turn this over because I want to make sure that all the Tyvek is on the same side. And then I'm going to come right back up to the edge of that tape. And then I am going to repeat the process for this side. I'm going to come right up to the tape and put that down. Now we're going to wrap this, and I need to find my paper. Okay, I'm going to wrap it with 65-pound weight cardstock. When I start building inside the album, I'm going to go to 100-pound weight because I want sturdiness in my pages. So hopefully you have a 65-pound for wrap, and that you have 100 or better in order to do the build-up on the spine for the pages. Now this being 8.5, this piece here needs to be, so 8.5, so 10.5. Because I want a 1 inch edge on both sides that we're going to be folding over. So yes, that's going to cut to 10.5. So I'm going to cut 2 sheets at 10.5. Hang tight, I'll be right back. You could be cutting yours right now as well. And get this measured up. And there. So when we put this, goodness sakes, behind the chipboard, I want this to be roughly at 1 inch all the way around. But we're going to have a problem with the spine because, as you can see, that seam is going to run right down the gusset. We can't have that. This needs to either come short so that it's here. I could have cut it, well, I can't cut it any longer because this is a 12-inch piece. So I'm going to cut it short so that this seam is about here. So I'm going to make it mark, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to cut these, and then I'm going to make a separate piece that's going to tape over and work on the spine. So let me put this back on my trimmer, and I'll give you a final measurement here in a minute. Okay, so 10.5 by 11.5 on both these pieces. So now they'll, leaving a 1 inch on each end, they will come right here on these two panels, and then we're going to cut to fit a piece that's going to go in here. And bear with me while I grab a piece of that. Sorry about that. I only had enough aside to do these two. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece that's going to be 10.5 tall, so that we've got that. Now I'm going to eyeball this so there's about 1/2 inch on each side for taping it in place. All right, so now if I pick this up and I straighten these out, and I was about 1/2 inch. Put this down, and then we're going to place Tyvek side to the cardstock. And we want about 1 inch on all the way around, as close to it as we can. So this is how your construction is going to look, and then we're going to tape and fold these over. So let's get started with taping these pieces together. Now I do not have 1/2 inch tape. I'm out, so I am going to run 2 strips of 1/4 inch tape right along the edge. And get that right up next to it. Whoops, that kind of twisted there. And then again, and one more strip. And then we're going to burnish really well. Get that down there, get all the air pockets out. And then I'm going to take the tape off. Got some gummy on there. One side. And I'm going to come right here at the bottom. And then I'm going to follow that tape edge all the way up. And I'm going to get rid of my little tick mark. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing on this side. Come on. And then once again, I'm going to line up across the bottom, and then I'm going to lay this paper following up the line of tape. Good burnish. Now we're going to get ready to wrap. The first thing that we need to do before we wrap, we're going to turn this over, and the widest tape that you have, I'm using 5/8. The widest tape that you have, we want to run this right along this chipboard edge, right along that gusset. And you're going to do that on both sides. So feel where that edge is, and then come up here. Oh, my tape's wanting to slide. Hold on here. There we go. And you're going to repeat this. I'll clean this up in a minute. You're going to repeat that process on both sides. Come right here to this corner, and you're going to come up to this corner of the chipboard. And then we're going to come here to here again. And the reason I'm putting the widest, the widest tape I can here is because this is going to be supporting this business when you're working your album open and close. And we want to keep the paper that it is going to get attached to firmly in place. We're going to be building into these gussets, and we need to make sure that the paper is not going to slide or do something we don't want it to do. Now I'm going to use 3/8 inch tape for the rest of the album. I'm going to start here at the end. I'm going to come to the middle, and then I'm going to come to the middle of that, and this piece. This will help keep the cardstock on the chipboard. Now I'm going to do the same thing for this side. I am going to start at the end. I just ran out of tape. That's okay, we got more. Finish this. And then I'm going to run a strip roughly eyeballing the middle. And then I'm going to go into the middle of each of those sections. And then I'm going to burnish really well. It is so important that we do this because we want that tape to adhere to its surface. Get the bubbles and the cracks out. Make sure it's down there really good, because that's where you're going to have album failure, in my opinion. All right, what I want to do is sneak in here and clean up this tape. And I'm okay on the bottom. All right. So I want to make sure that I am as even as I can be, equal distance top to bottom. I know this needs to be at about 1 inch, and I'm going to have 1 inch on the bottom. So I'm just going to measure this one. It's easier for you to see. So I have 1 inch here, and I'm going to have 1 inch down here. Now I want to make sure that that stays true as we lay this down. I don't really want this to get off by too much. So I'm going to make some marks so that I know I'm at 1 inch on all the edges, because when I start to take that tape off, I want to make sure that I'm staying even as I lay this down. Now, the ends, and I don't know if you can see this, so I'll pull this down here. I need to make sure that the ends now have the same amount because it's going to go towards making better corners. So what I have here is about 7/8 of an inch. And what I have down here is also 7/8. So I'm good to go. I'm going to hold this in place because I don't want it to shift now. And what we are going to do first is we're going to remove, where's my paper? We're going to remove one of these piece strips of tape. I just want to remove one for now. I am going to give a nice tug because I don't want these the gussets collapsing on each other. I don't want any of this business. So I'm holding it pretty firm so that that tape piece can go down and do its job. And then I'll sneak in here and I'll take out the other piece. And then make sure that I've got a good firm tug. That is going to be really important when you're laying this down because you do not want your gussets collapsing in on each other. So give it a good firm tug and put it down. Now, I'm going to take this strip off first. And again, I'm going to watch the 1-inch pencil marks that I made, make sure that I'm in there, and I'm holding this pretty firm so that this stays separated. And then I'm going to come in and take the rest of the tape off. I apologize if this has a goofy angle. Goofy angle for you on the camera. But it's what I've got to do to get this. All right. I want to make sure that this paper is flat and that I'm holding this in place and that I'm following my pencil mark down here. I'm going to turn her over real quick and burnish. And now I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to repeat the process. I'm only going to take this off first. I am going to watch my pencil marks. And then I'm going to come in here and take the rest of the tape off. If you're brave enough to take all the tape off, go ahead. This is just how I prefer to do it. This way I know I am not making any mistakes with my laying this down along my pencil mark. Give it a good burnish. Now I'm going to take the 3/8 of an inch tape and I am going to tape all the edges on this. Come up here, tape. You'll find that it takes quite a bit of tape to make an album, at least the way I make it. I want it to stay together. And then down each end. Okay, and Now I'm going to use my 5/8 inch tape, and I'm going to tape these ends all the way down. It's going to be one big long strip of tape. And I think, there we go. If I lean that up there and stay in frame for you. This is the boring part where it gets real quiet because we're both taping, putting tape on it, getting it ready to go. Okay, last piece for here. Now, while I'm in here, I am going to run tape on both sides of the gusset, the spine. It will come into play later, but I'm doing it. I'm taping right now, so I'm just going to get this part out of the way. Okay. Give it a good burnish all the way around. And now I'm going to burnish the outer edges. I might be off frame, but I'm just burnishing to make sure that this tape is down there and down there good. Okay, next step is you're going to want to cut your corners, and you want to leave enough room so that, or leave enough of a room here at the end so that you can create hopefully a decent corner. So you don't want to cut too deep into this or you're going to expose this. So you want, whatever method you use, go ahead and do it. I have a miter tool that I use. It is the perfect height, and for the most part it gives me a great corner cut. It's a heavy piece. I found this on a website called colorwayarts.com, and it is a miter tool. I will show it to you. It's a 2-in-1 trim and miter tool, and it gives you the thickness of the chipboard that it will cut up to. And I like this thing. It's sturdy for me. I don't like things moving around on me when I'm cutting. Let's get off the rubber mat. I'm probably not in frame, but I don't want to cut my white mat, so please bear with me. I'm just placing it here. Just a second. Let me do this. So I just place it right here in the corner. It stays right where it's supposed to. It gives me something solid to hang on to so that I can cut my corners. 2-in-1 miter tool. All right, now I am going to start removing tape. I'm going to do the end here first. For some reason my picker is not picking cleanly. All right. It had some gummy on it. Okay, let's get in here and we are going to burnish this up next to the chipboard. When I lay this down, this is going to get covered up, so I'm going to just lift this piece a little ways. And then this is going to come over. All right. Now I'm going to do the opposite end as well. I'm just going to take this off and I'm going to pull this back just a little bit so that it's out of the way. And then I'm going to take this off. And then I'm going to come up underneath here and I'm going to burnish up to the chipboard and then fold it over. All right, now I'm going to start taking these strips off. I'll do the end closest to you. Now what I want to do is I'm going to push down and in so that I can take that excess. If you have a different way of doing this, by all means. But this, I just push down and in. And tuck that extra right in there. All right, so we're going to take this off, and we're going to take this off. All right, so now we have all of our outer. I do believe I'm going to need to back these up just a tad bit. Let's get these pushed down and rounded in there. Oops. My hand's sticking to the tape. And then I'm going to take this off one at a time. I'm not taking it off on the other side. Now I'm going to burnish right up to that cardstock. And I apologize, I might be out of frame, but at this point I don't want to be moving this around a whole bunch. Burnish right up to that chipboard, and then from the middle at the spine, you will then fold this over. And then down and out on both sides. Down and out on both sides. See, I have a nice corner. I'm okay with that. Now I'm going to back these off as well because this is going to come right into where this tape is, and I'm not ready to take this tape off yet. And then we're going to take this off. So I've already tucked my corners, so I should be good to go there. And then I'm going to burnish again, bringing this paper right up to the cardstock. And then from the center, come on guys, lay down. We're going to pull that down. We're going to pull this in, and then we're going to down and out. And again, down and out. And there we have some really nice corners all the way around. These are going to stay in place for just a few minutes. Now we're going to work on the piece that's going to go in the center. That piece needs to be heavy cardstock. So I'm going to use 100-pound cardstock. And we are going to cut a piece that is going to measure just a hair off of here and just a hair from here. I don't want to go to end because I don't think that's a pretty look when you're doing albums, when you're starting to turn pages. So I'm just going to barely line this up right where I want it, and then I'm going to come up here and do a tick mark for the top part. And now I want to cut this piece at 6 inches. All right, so this is going to go over just like this. So this is what you're going to have. What we need to do is center this as best as you can. And I am going to put a tick here, a tick here, a tick here, and a tick here. And I'm going to score those. And if I have to make adjustments on the scoreboard to get those ticks in the right spot, I will. So I am scoring at 7 1/8, 2 1/8, I'm going to go at 4 because that's where the tick came in. That means I wasn't even on both sides. And then we're going to go at 4 1/4. Now I want to fold this over, and I want to score along each of these, because what we're doing is we're making that gusset. And then the last fold. Now, this piece right here is what is going to sit right here on that piece of chipboard. And then as you can see, each of my tick marks is the 1/4 inch gusset. We're going to lay this down right where we've got all those marks at, but we're going to lay it down very carefully because we're going to be pushing this gusset down in here. And we want to do it carefully because we don't want to tear it. But if you end up tearing it, it's okay to run a little bead of glue because it's going to continue to be covered up as we go on and build the album later. So we are first going to run a bunch of more tape on the back of this. Yeah, you know what? I've already got this. Let me lay this down here. And I'm going to run tape up to here and here. This way the tape is all on the chipboard. And then my 3/8 inch tape to finish the area off. You want this, I keep tearing and I should be cutting, so I'm going to cut. You want this piece to really be glued down because this is going to be the base for your pages, and you don't want to have it moving around or lifting. Again, that's where you're going to find album failure along your spine. Okay, so I am going to remove these two first, and I want to place this right back down here where these two tick marks are. I'm just going to follow this, and I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to set this very carefully right about where I wanted it to be. And then I want to make sure I don't know why I'm struggling with this. I do this all the time. So if I fold back on these, this one's off just a little bit. This one's dead on. Okay, so I'm going to have to play with this a little bit. No worries. I've got extra here to play with. So I'm going to take this tape off on this side because I've got to pay attention to the fact that my gussets aren't perfectly lining up. Now when I do this, I want to be careful not to tear, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into that gusset, and I'm going to push this down into that gusset all the way. Be careful not to tear, but I want this inside that gusset. And as I'm pushing down, it's taking up some of the paper on this side in order to create my gusset that I want to do here. Now I should just be able to lay this down onto the tape. And I'm going to erase my tick marks because I don't want pencil mark to show on the white paper. Now this side, we are going to do the same thing. Okay, so we're going to come in here and we are going to find this gusset line, and we're going to gently push the paper into it. And then I'm going to find this gusset line, and I'm going to gently push the paper into it. And then gently lay the paper down. I don't want the gusset to lift, so we just gently lay it down, and we're going to burnish it. And then I'm going to erase my pencil mark. All right, so if you give this a gentle bend, I gotta put some glue there. You'll see that you have a nice elbow shaped. There's no challenge on the paper for the curve. And I'm gonna run a bead of glue right along the bottom here. I don't want this coming up. I usually put the tape on the white piece of cardstock, so I kind of messed up. because I've got a gap down here that didn't have any tape on it. The tape's here. So bear with me. So this just kind of reinforces that you should put the tape on the white cardstock. Do not do what I just did. And in the event that you are following along and you did do that, just put some glue on the end. Reinforce my gusset. All right, so that has that piece taken care of. Now we want 2 sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock. So if you will grab those, I have mine. We are going to cut these to match the length of this. So I'm just going to come right up here, make sure that that's, I'm a very much a, just lay it down there, make sure it works, girl. It's hard for me to anticipate measurements. So I made my tick mark, and it looks like from end to the tick mark, I'm coming in at 8 1/4 inches. So I'm going to trim this. All right. Now, here comes the next challenge. I'm going to use a bigger scoreboard, and I'll show you what I want to do. So I'm going to score this at 5/8. And I'm going to score the second one at 5/8. Let's get this burnished, fold, score against your, I score against this because it is already been trained to go there by the gusset. Okay, now these are going to mount right on here. You're going to take tape and run it on the back side of this, and you're going to find the edge of that chipboard. Make sure that these are even top to bottom. We're going to tape these down. Now, when the album is open, I could do this to show you what I'm talking about. I don't want to see this because by the time we build that, if you stand this up, this piece of paper is hanging out over the edge. So I'm going to come up to this score line, lay this down. I don't want that there. I'm going to come back about 3/8 of an inch, and I'm going to cut that. So I'm going to put both of these back on the cutter. And I'm going to trim off about 3/8 of an inch so that when these pages are in here and this book is closed, they are not sticking out on the end. Now I have a 5/8 of an inch gusset, and I am going to very carefully lay my 5/8 of an inch tape. You know, why is it that one thing measures at 5/8 and the other thing doesn't quite match up? Because I've got some overhang here, and that's interesting. And I'm going to do it for this one as well. Okay, we're going to take this off. This little tape that's hanging over here, about a 1/16 of an inch. I'm just going to use my finger and fold it over. Sorry for the noise. All right, now, like I said, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to lay this right along this edge, making sure that I'm matching my bottom to my top, lay that in and put it down. And then I'm going to do the same here. Ooh, that made my teeth just... Okay, this edge right here is going to snug right up to this edge. And I'm going to push it right up underneath of there so there's good contact, and then I'm going to press it down. And hopefully I've laid them both in there straight. Look at that. I scored. Okay, so this, and you can see how these are just cut so that they're just hiding right behind. This is your album. It is done. I am not going to cover these panels on the inside because it's just a waste of cardstock. I am going to use designer paper to cover these. And that is your 8.5 by 11 with a 1 1/8 inch spine. And thank you for viewing.